Friends, have you ever been in a season where someone you cared about, someone you thought would be in your life forever, suddenly becomes distant? Maybe a relationship ended. Maybe a friendship faded. Maybe life just took you in separate directions. And now there's no more contact, no calls, no messages, no connection. It's easy to let your mind run wild, to start wondering, did I do something wrong? Should I reach out? What if they forgot about me? But let me tell you today, when a man and woman stop contacting each other, it is not the end. It is a divine redirection. God never removes something without having something better in store. That silence you're experiencing, that distance, it's not rejection, it's protection. It's not an accident, it's an alignment. Some people are in your life for a season, and when their time is up, you have to let them go, because holding on to something that God is trying to move out of your life will only delay your destiny. You see, God is a God of purpose. He knows the relationships that will bless you and the ones that will burden you. He knows who is supposed to stay and who is supposed to leave. And when He separates you from someone, trust that it is for your good. Instead of mourning over what is lost, start thanking God for what is coming. Don't let loneliness drive you back to what was never meant to be. If they walked away, let them go. If they stopped calling, let them be silent. If they cut off contact, don't chase them, because the right people, the people God has ordained for your life, will never leave you guessing. This is your time to grow. Your time to focus on becoming everything God created you to be. Don't waste your energy trying to hold on to someone who is no longer holding on to you. God is setting you up for something greater. The silence is not a punishment, it's preparation. Life has a way of shifting people in and out of our journey. One moment we're deeply connected to someone, sharing our thoughts, dreams, and experiences, and the next we find ourselves walking alone. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, it can feel unsettling, even painful. The silence can be deafening, and the absence can feel like a loss. But what if I told you that this separation is not a setback, but a setup for something greater? What if instead of seeing it as an end, you recognized it as divine redirection? God does not allow people to drift away from your life without purpose. Every change, every separation, and every shift is leading you exactly where you need to be. Often, we hold on too tightly to people who were only meant to be in our lives for a season. We invest our energy trying to revive what God has already released us from. But just as the tides of the ocean are controlled by divine hands, so are the relationships in our lives. When someone fades away, when communication stops, when the connection weakens, it's not always a sign to fight harder. It's often a sign to let go. Clinging to the past can prevent you from stepping into your future. Sometimes the only way to receive what God has for you is to make room by releasing what no longer serves you. Think about a tree during the autumn season. The leaves begin to change color, wither, and fall to the ground. To an outsider, it may seem like the tree is losing something, that it is becoming bare and empty. But in reality, that shedding is necessary. The tree is not dying. It is preparing for something greater. Without the leaves falling away, there would be no space for new growth in the spring. In the same way, when people exit your life, it is not a sign of loss, but of preparation. God is making space for the right relationships, for deeper connections, and for new opportunities that will propel you toward your purpose. Many times, we resist this divine redirection because we fear the unknown. We wonder, what if I never find someone like them again? What if I'm making a mistake by letting go? But trust me, what God removes, He replaces with something better. He is not in the business of taking without restoring. When you lose a relationship, it's easy to think it's the enemy working against you. But more often than not, it's God working for you. He sees the conversations you don't hear, the motives you don't discern, and the plans He has in store for you. He is leading you toward the relationships that will build you up, not tear you down. The problem is we often try to make seasonal people into lifetime commitments. We assume that because they were good for us at one point, they must be good for us forever. But just because someone played an important role in your past does not mean they are meant to be part of your future. Some people come into your life to teach you, to shape you, and to prepare you. Once their assignment is complete, they move on. And if you try to force something to last beyond its intended season, it will only bring frustration and pain. That's why we have to trust that when someone steps out, God is stepping in. If you're experiencing the silence of separation right now, don't let it break you, let it bless you. Instead of mourning the absence, shift your focus to the presence of God. He is with you, guiding your steps and ensuring that every departure is making way for an arrival. What may look like an unanswered prayer is actually divine intervention. God is protecting you from what you cannot see and preparing you for what you cannot yet imagine. Instead of asking, why did this happen? Ask, what is God trying to do in my life through this? There is always a purpose behind the separation. So rather than seeing the silence as a punishment, see it as direction. Rather than seeing the distance as rejection, see it as protection. And rather than trying to force what no longer fits, embrace the new path that God is unfolding before you. Sometimes the greatest blessings come wrapped in goodbyes. Trust that God is orchestrating every detail. And know that when someone exits your life, it's not the end of your story. It's simply the beginning of a new chapter. Silence can be one of the most difficult things to handle, especially when it comes from someone you once had a strong connection with. When a man and woman stop contacting each other, the absence of communication can feel like rejection. It can stir up feelings of confusion, self-doubt, and even a sense of unworthiness. Did I do something wrong? Why did they stop talking to me? These thoughts can weigh heavy on the heart, but let me remind you today, silence is not rejection. It is often God's way of protecting you from something you cannot yet see. What feels like abandonment is actually divine intervention, redirecting you away from something that is no longer meant for you. Too often we take silence personally. We assume that if someone no longer reaches out, it must mean we weren't good enough, that we failed in some way, or that we should have done something differently. But the truth is, God sees beyond what we can see. He hears the conversations we were never meant to hear. He knows the motives hidden beneath the surface, and He understands what is best for our future. If someone walks away, if communication stops, or if a relationship suddenly fades, it is not because you are unworthy. It is because God is moving on your behalf. He is removing what could hinder your destiny before it has the chance to do so. Think about the times in your life when you wanted something so badly, but it didn't work out. Maybe it was a job opportunity that fell through, a friendship that ended unexpectedly, or a relationship that seemed perfect but suddenly crumbled. At the moment it felt unfair, even painful, but looking back, you can see how that no was actually a blessing. You can see how God's protection was at work, sparing you from unnecessary heartache, leading you to something far better. The same principle applies when someone stops communicating with you. The silence is not meant to harm you. It is meant to shield you from future pain. We have to shift our mindset from seeing silence as rejection to understanding it as redirect. If someone was meant to be in your life, nothing could separate them from you. Real connections, God-ordained relationships do not fade away because of a lack of effort or misunderstanding. When God brings someone into your life for a purpose, they will stay, they will grow with you, and they will contribute to your journey. But when someone disappears, when communication is cut off, it is a sign that their role in your story has come to an end. You don't have to chase them, beg for their attention, or question your worth. You simply have to trust that God knows what He is doing. Many times, we want to hold on to people because they feel familiar. We fight for relationships that are already slipping away because we fear being alone or uncertain about what's next. But sometimes, the very thing you are holding on to is the thing that is keeping you from stepping into God's best for you? What if the silence is not meant to hurt you, but to free you? What if God is closing this door so you won't be distracted from the one He is about to open? Trusting God means believing that what is happening now is part of a bigger plan, even if it doesn't make sense at the moment. Instead of seeing silence as something negative, start viewing it as a sign that God is working behind the scenes. Maybe He is protecting you from a toxic situation. Maybe He is clearing space for the right person to enter your life. Maybe He is teaching you to rely on Him rather than on people. Whatever the reason, trust that the silence is serving a purpose. God never allows something to be removed from your life unless it is making room for something greater. Instead of focusing on who is not contacting you, focus on the one who is always with you. God's voice is never silent, and His plans for you are always unfolding, even in the quiet moments. So don't let silence shake your confidence. Don't allow the lack of communication to make you feel unworthy or forgotten. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected. You are not being abandoned. You are being protected. When God removes someone from your life, He is not taking away something good. He is making space for something great. Keep your heart open. Keep your faith strong, and know that this silence is not the end. It is the beginning of something far better than you can imagine. One of the hardest lessons in life is understanding that not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some people come into your life for a season, and when their purpose in your story is fulfilled, they leave. It can be painful to accept, especially when you have built strong emotional ties with someone. You may have shared deep conversations, laughed together, and supported each other through tough times, but suddenly things change. The communication stops, the connection fades, and you find yourself wondering what went wrong. But let me tell you today, not every ending is a loss. Some endings are necessary because some relationships are seasonal. Just like nature goes through seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter, our relationships also have seasons. There are friendships that blossom like flowers in the spring, bringing joy and excitement. There are relationships that burn brightly like the summer sun, intense and full of passion. Then there are those that start to change like the leaves in autumn, gradually fading away. And finally, there are relationships that grow cold like winter, where distance and silence replace warmth and connection. If we try to hold on to a relationship that was meant only for a season, we will find ourselves frustrated and confused. Instead, we must trust that God is guiding our relationships, just as He controls the seasons of nature. One mistake many people make is trying to turn a seasonal relationship into a lifelong commitment. We assume that because someone was a blessing at one point in our lives, they must be part of our future as well. But not everyone is meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your journey. Some people are placed in your life to teach you a lesson, to help you grow, or to push you toward your destiny. Their role was never meant to be permanent. When their season is over, we must learn to let them go, just as a tree releases its leaves in the fall. Holding on to them will only hinder your growth. Think about the people who were once a big part of your life, but are no longer in it today. At one time, you couldn't imagine life without them. You believed they would always be there, but now they have moved on, and you have too. And guess what? You survived. Life continued. New people entered your life. New opportunities arose, and you became stronger because of the experiences you shared with them. This is proof that God knows what He's doing. If He allowed someone to leave, it's because their purpose in your life was fulfilled. Instead of mourning the end of a relationship, be grateful for the season you had together. One of the greatest challenges we face is learning to trust God's timing. When a relationship is good, we want it to last forever. We struggle to understand why things have to change. But just as a farmer doesn't grieve when the summer ends and the harvest is gathered, we shouldn't grieve when a seasonal relationship comes to a close. Seasons must change for growth to happen. A plant that clings to the warmth of summer and refuses to go through the process of autumn and winter will never bloom again in the spring. The same is true for us. We must trust that every season has a purpose. And when one ends, it is making way for something new. Another reason some relationships are only seasonal is that God is preparing you for something greater. If you are holding on to a relationship that no longer serves you, it may be blocking the blessing that is waiting for you. Sometimes God removes people from our lives not because they are bad, but because they cannot go where He is taking us. Imagine if you tried to carry all your past relationships, friendships, and connections into your future. It would weigh you down. God allows certain people to leave so that you can move forward unburdened and ready for what He has in store. So when someone exits your life, don't be bitter. Be better. Don't chase after them. Release them with gratitude. Recognize that not every relationship is meant to last forever, and that's okay. God brings the right people at the right time and removes those who have served their purpose. Your job is not to resist the changes, but to embrace them, knowing that each season is shaping you for something far greater than you can imagine. One of the biggest mistakes we make in life is trying to hold on to something that God is clearly trying to remove. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, it can be tempting to chase after the relationship, to seek closure, or to force things back to the way they were. But sometimes the very thing you're trying to revive is the thing God is trying to release. When God is closing a door, no amount of effort can keep it open. And if we're not careful, we can spend too much time looking back, trying to hold on to something that is no longer meant for us, instead of stepping forward into the new blessings God has prepared. Have you ever tried to hold on to something that was slipping away? Maybe it was a relationship that used to feel fulfilling, but now it's full of tension and misunderstandings. Maybe it was a friendship that once felt like home, but now it's distant and cold. Instead of accepting that things have changed, you fight harder, trying to restore what once was. You send messages that don't get replies. You keep checking their social media, wondering if they miss you. You replay old memories in your mind, convincing yourself that if you just tried a little harder, things would go back to how they used to be. But deep down, you know the truth. God is moving this relationship out of your life for a reason. Holding on to what God is removing will only lead to frustration and heartbreak. It's like trying to hold on to sand. No matter how tightly you grip it, it will slip through your fingers. The more you chase after something that is not meant for you, the more exhausted and disappointed you will become. You were not meant to beg for someone's presence in your life. The people who are truly meant to be with you will stay, not because you chase them, but because they are aligned with your destiny. The right relationships do not require constant striving. When God brings someone into your life, they will stay naturally, effortlessly, and with purpose. Think about the story of Abraham and Lot in the Bible. God had a great promise for Abraham, but Lot was not supposed to be part of his journey. Yet Abraham insisted on bringing Lot along. Over time, conflict arose and they had to separate. It was only after Abraham let Lot go that God revealed His full blessing to him. Some people cannot go where God is taking you. No matter how much history you have with them, no matter how much you love them, if they are not meant for your future, you have to release them. You cannot step into your purpose while dragging people along who were never meant to go with you. The truth is, when you chase after something that is leaving, you are telling God that you don't trust His plan. You are saying, God, I know better. I need this person in my life. But God sees the things you don't see. He knows what is ahead. He knows the people who will support you, encourage you, and help you grow. He also knows the people who will hold you back, drain your energy, and keep you from becoming who you were meant to be. If God is moving someone out of your life, it's because He is making room for something better. You don't have to chase, beg, or convince anyone to stay. What is meant for you will find you. Letting go is an act of faith. It means trusting that even though you don't understand it right now, God's plan is bigger than your emotions. It means believing that the pain of loss is nothing compared to the joy of what's coming next. Sometimes God will allow people to leave because He has someone else waiting who will love, respect, and appreciate you in ways you never imagined. But you'll never receive that blessing if you're still chasing after what God has already removed. So stop running after closed doors. Stop holding on to what God is trying to move out. If a person has distanced themselves, let them go. If they have stopped communicating, don't force it. If the relationship has faded, don't try to resurrect something that was only meant to be temporary. Trust that if God is removing it, He is replacing it with something far greater. Let go, move forward, and watch how He unfolds something more beautiful than you ever imagined. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, it's easy to focus on the loss. You may wonder why things change, why the connection faded, and why someone who was once a significant part of your life is now gone. But what if I told you that God is not just taking something away, He's making space for something greater. Every time God removes someone from your life, He is not just leaving an empty place. He is preparing you for something better, something more aligned with your purpose, something that will bring you the peace and fulfillment you've been longing for. Too often we hold on to people because of familiarity. We think this is all I've ever known. This is the person I imagine my future with. How can I just let go? But what we don't realize is that God will never take something away without the intention of replacing it with something better. If He allows someone to leave, it's because their role in your life has been fulfilled. Instead of grieving what you lost, shift your focus to what is coming. What if this separation is actually a setup for something far greater than you ever expected? What if the very thing you are crying over today is the thing you will thank God for tomorrow? Imagine you are holding on to an old, worn-out jacket. It's comfortable, familiar, and you've had it for years. But what if someone wanted to give you a brand new coat? One that fits you better, one that keeps you warmer, one that matches where you are going in life. You can't receive it if your hands are still holding on to the old one. The same is true for relationships. You can't receive God's best if you're still clinging to what He's trying to remove. Sometimes we resist change because we are afraid of the unknown, but faith means trusting that what God has in store is always better than what we are leaving behind. Think about the story of Job in the Bible. He lost everything. His wealth, his family, his health. It seemed like everything was falling apart, but what Job didn't know was that God was setting him up for a greater blessing. In the end, God restored everything Job had lost and gave him double of what he had before. What looked like a painful loss was actually a divine setup for greater things. The same is true in your life. When God removes someone, it's not to hurt you, it's to position you for something more than you could ever imagine. Sometimes God takes people out of your life because He sees what you cannot see. Maybe that relationship was holding you back. Maybe it was distracting you from your purpose. Maybe it was draining your energy and you didn't even realize it. God is always working behind the scenes, aligning the right people at the right time. He knows who belongs in your next chapter, and He will not let you settle for anything less than His best. If someone left, don't take it as a loss. Take it as a sign that God is preparing you for something greater. The problem is we often try to bring people into our future who were only meant for our past. We hold on to relationships that were meant to be temporary. But you have to trust that if they were meant to stay, they would still be here. Instead of chasing after what's leaving, prepare your heart for what's coming. God has a way of bringing the right people into your life at the right time. The relationships He ordains are effortless, full of peace, and contribute to your growth. If something ended, it's because God has something better aligned with your destiny. So don't fear the removal. Don't question why things changed. Don't hold on to what no longer fits your life. God never subtracts without the intention of multiplying. When He removes someone, it's because He is making room for the right person, the right opportunity, the right season. Trust Him. Release the past and get ready, because what's coming is far greater than what was lost. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, the silence can feel overwhelming. It's natural to want to reach out, to seek closure, or to question what went wrong. But sometimes distance is exactly what is needed for clarity. When emotions are high and feelings are tangled, stepping back allows you to see the situation for what it truly is. When you're constantly in communication with someone, it's easy to overlook red flags, compromise your values, or ignore signs that the relationship is not serving you. But when contact stops, reality begins to set in, and you start to see things from a new perspective. Distance reveals truth. It shows you who is willing to put in the effort, who truly values the relationship, and who was only there out of convenience. When someone stops reaching out, it forces you to evaluate whether they were ever meant to be in your life long term. Were they adding value to your life, or were they just filling a space? Were they encouraging your growth, or were they holding you back? Sometimes we become so attached to a person that we don't see the situation clearly until we step away. Distance helps you recognize whether their presence was truly a blessing or if it was merely a distraction. One of the most powerful things about distance is that it allows you to hear God's voice more clearly. When we are constantly entangled in a relationship, especially one that is not aligned with God's plan, it can be hard to discern His guidance. We may ignore the warning signs or push aside the feeling that something isn't right. But when the noise of constant communication stops, when the relationship is no longer clouding your thoughts, that's when God can reveal His truth to you. He can show you whether this connection was meant for your future or if it was only a temporary lesson. Think about how Jesus often withdrew to be alone and pray. He understood that clarity comes in the quiet. When you step away from a relationship, even for a short time, you gain a fresh perspective. You start to see the things you once ignored. You notice patterns, behaviors, and even emotional reactions that were hidden in the familiarity of daily contact. Sometimes distance helps you realize that the relationship wasn't as healthy as you once thought. Other times it confirms that the connection was right, but it simply wasn't the right time. Either way, distance brings revelation. Another important truth about distance is that it can help you break free from emotional dependence. When you are constantly in contact with someone, they become part of your routine, your comfort zone. You may even begin to rely on them for emotional support, validation, or happiness. But the danger in this is that your well-being should never be dependent on another person. It should be rooted in God. When contact is cut off, it forces you to turn inward and, more importantly, to turn to God. You begin to realize that your strength, your worth, and your identity were never meant to come from another person. Distance allows you to reconnect with yourself and with God in a deeper way. At times, distance is the only way to see a relationship for what it really is. It allows you to separate emotions from reality, to discern between love and attachment, and to evaluate whether the relationship aligns with God's purpose for your life. If someone truly values you, distance will not push them away. It will only make their intentions clearer. If they are meant to be in your life, they will find a way to return, not because you chased them, but because they genuinely want to be there. But if they don't return, if the relationship fades permanently, then the distance has done its job. It has shown you that they were never meant to stay. So don't fear the silence. Don't fight against the distance. Instead, embrace it as an opportunity for clarity. Let it reveal what you need to see. Let it guide you toward truth. Because sometimes the best way to understand where a relationship stands is to step back and see it from a distance. One of the hardest things to accept in life is that not everyone is meant to stay. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, it can stir up all kinds of emotions, confusion, sadness, even a sense of rejection. You may find yourself asking, why did they pull away? What did I do wrong? But the truth is, when someone wants to leave, you have to let them go. You cannot hold on to people who have already decided to walk away. You cannot convince someone to stay when their heart is no longer in it. And most importantly, you shouldn't have to. What is meant for you will never require you to beg, chase, or plead. Too often we hold on to relationships that are slipping away because we are afraid of losing something familiar. We think that if we just try harder, if we say the right things, if we give them more time, maybe they will change their mind. But the reality is, when someone truly values you, they will not put you in a position where you have to fight for their presence in your life. A healthy relationship does not require constant convincing. Love, respect, and commitment should come naturally, not out of fear, guilt, or obligation. Think about this. When someone leaves, they are making a choice. And choices reveal priorities. If a person chooses to walk away from you, they are showing you exactly where they stand, no matter how painful it is. Their actions speak louder than words. Instead of trying to pull them back, trust what they are showing you. If they wanted to stay, they would. The more you chase someone who has already decided to go, the more you prolong your own healing. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to accept reality, let them leave, and move forward with grace. We see this lesson in the story of the prodigal son. The father didn't chase after his son when he left. He didn't beg him to stay. Instead, he let him go. And in time, the son realized the truth on his own. He returned when he was ready. Not because he was forced, but because his heart led him back. People who are meant to be in your life will always find their way back, not because you chased them, but because they truly belong there. But if they don't return, that's also an answer. It means their role in your life has ended, and you must be willing to let go so that God can bring in something better. One of the biggest mistakes we make is tying our self-worth to whether or not someone stays. We think, if they leave, maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I should have done more. But your value is not determined by who chooses to stay or walk away. Your worth comes from God. The right person, the person God has for you, will recognize your value without you having to prove it. When you know your worth, you stop trying to convince people to see it. You don't beg for a seat at the table when you know you belong in the room. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you weren't invested. It simply means that you respect yourself enough to release what is no longer meant for you. Holding on to someone who wants to leave only drains your energy and delays the blessings that God has in store. Sometimes we think we are losing something valuable, but in reality, God is clearing space for something greater. You cannot receive new blessings if your hands are still holding on to what God is trying to remove. So if someone wants to leave, let them go. Do not chase after them. Do not try to convince them to stay. Instead, trust that what is meant for you will never require you to force it. God knows what He is doing. When one door closes, another opens. When one person walks away, God brings the right one at the right time. Your job is not to chase after people, but to walk confidently in the direction God is leading you, knowing that whatever He has planned for your future is far greater than anything you are leaving behind. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, it can feel confusing and painful. You might replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you could have done something differently. You may ask yourself, why did this happen? Was it my fault? But in times like these, the most important thing you can do is trust that God knows what's best for your life. Even when things don't go the way you expected, even when a relationship ends without closure, God is still in control. He is always working behind the scenes, orchestrating things for your good. Too often we try to take matters into our own hands. We think if I just reach out one more time, maybe things will change. If I just explain my side, maybe they'll see things differently. But faith is about surrendering, not controlling. It's about believing that God sees the full picture. Well, we only see a small part. The Bible says in Proverbs 3:5-6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. That means even when you don't understand why something is happening, you can trust that God has a greater plan. Think about a parent guiding a child. A child may not always understand why their parent says no to certain things, but the parent knows what is best. If a child wants to eat candy for every meal, the parent will say no, not to be cruel, but because they love their child too much to let them make a harmful decision. God works the same way in our lives. Sometimes He removes people because He sees what we don't see. He knows the future, and He knows who belongs in it. Instead of questioning why someone left, start trusting that God is protecting you from something you may not even realize. When God closes a door, it's not to punish you, it's to redirect you. He doesn't take something away unless He has something better in store. But if you spend all your time looking back, trying to reopen what God has closed, you'll miss the new opportunities He is bringing your way. In Isaiah 43:19, God says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." That means that even when things seem dry, even when you feel lost, God is already preparing something greater for you. Sometimes we hold on to relationships because they feel safe. Even when we know deep down they aren't right for us, we cling to them out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of the unknown. But God doesn't want you to settle for less than what He has planned for you. If you could see what He has in store, you wouldn't even hesitate to let go. You would trust that the loss is actually a setup for something far greater. You may not see it right away, but in time, everything will make sense. One day you'll look back and understand why things happened the way they did. You'll see how God was protecting you, guiding you, and positioning you for something better. But for now, your job is to trust Him. Trust that He knows what He's doing. Trust that His plan is greater than yours. Trust that the person He removes is not meant to be part of your destiny. Let go of what's gone. Embrace the present. And believe that God is leading you to something even more beautiful than you ever imagined. So don't get stuck questioning why things ended. Don't waste your time trying to force something that is no longer meant to be. Instead, walk forward in faith. Trust that God knows what's best for you. Because when you leave things in His hands, He will always lead you to something greater than what you left behind. My friend, I know that letting go is never easy. When someone we cared about is no longer in our life, it can feel like a part of us is missing. We question, we grieve, we wonder if things could have been different. But here's what I want you to remember. God never allows something to leave your life without a purpose. Every closed door, every lost relationship, every unanswered question, it's all part of a divine plan. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that everything happened exactly as it was supposed to. Stop looking for explanations and start looking forward. Don't waste your time chasing after what God has already removed. Don't keep knocking on a door that He has shut. When you trust that He is guiding your steps, you will find peace even in the midst of uncertainty. You don't have to understand everything to move forward. You just have to believe that what's ahead is better than what's behind. Some people were only meant to be in your life for a season. They came to teach you something, to help you grow, to prepare you for what's next. But when their time is up, you have to let them go. If you try to hold on, you will only delay the blessings that God has in store. Letting go isn't losing, it's making room for something greater. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, and walk forward with confidence. Your future is bright. Your story is not over. God is bringing the right people, the right opportunities, and the right relationships at the right time. Trust Him. Let go of what's gone. Embrace what's ahead and know that the best is yet to come.